Now, I watch a lot of television. I do. I got time. I have little kids to look after right now. Single. But it is getting harder and harder to find shows that maintain quality as years go by. Now, people are going to say, "Oh well, every show loses quality over the years." No, not all of them. But when you're trying really hard to reinvent the wheel halfway through, it can get tough to keep things going. I know I was having debates on The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead started out as a show that was working at a frenetic pace, and now it crawls. You take everything that happens in a season of The Walking Dead, you could tidy it up, make it 3 episodes, and they'd be 3 fantastic episodes. But you got to draw it out. It's got to be a full season, and now it's got to be 2 seasons technically, as you have the mid-season cliffhanger. And sitcoms seem to go through similar issues. And one of the greatest examples of that is The Big Bang Theory. Now, I know people who've hated The Big Bang Theory from day one. I know plenty of people who say, oh, the show's just crap, it just sucks. And I also know people who will stick by it till the end. And they say, well, it's just as funny now as ever. And you're crazy if you don't think it's just as funny. I haven't laughed out loud watching The Big Bang Theory. In the last 2 seasons I've watched, I qualified as the penny haircut line. But honestly, it wasn't the haircut that caused the problems on the show. It's the show. So let's just rewind. The show starts out with Sheldon and Leonard coming home to find Penny moving in across the hall. Sheldon and Leonard are nerdy. Later in the episode, we meet Howard and Raj, who are nerdy. Raj can't talk to girls. Howard is creepy and over the top in terms of hitting on women. Leonard is the most normal of the bunch, but he has a hard time with girls too. Joyce Kim is the closest he's got to a relationship, and she was a Korean spy looking for nuclear secrets that he could offer her. And you have Sheldon, who is in the beginning, he is your standard science geek who's a little smarter than the rest. And a big point they make early on is he's asexual. He has no desire for physical contact with a female or a male. He's just there. And he's lost in his work. And it was unique that way. Fast forward. Leonard pursues Penny, gets Penny, loses Penny. When he lost Penny is where the show started to lose me a little bit. And it lost me in that. So Leonard tells her he loves her. She dumps him. Then they play it off that she's pining for him, but they make it clear that she wouldn't have to ask twice if she was going back to him. So in order to keep them apart, because they realized, geez, we can't have them get back together again right after they fell apart, we'll bring in Raj's sister, and she can be the foil to keep them apart for a season. And when you look back on episodes that feature Raj's sister, it's pretty obvious that it is just being used to set up a tension between Penny and Leonard again, and nothing more. She was the first time the show had used a Roy. I love that phrase. When in the Poochie episode of Simpsons, and they say, you know, usually adding another character to a show is a sign that it's gone stale and it's a lazy attempt by the writers to renew interest in it. And then Roy comes and sits, and they go, "Hi, Roy. Hey, Roy. What's up, Mr. S?" Like, and he doesn't do anything the rest of the episode. And at the end, when Poochie gets killed off, Roy's like, "Well, I'm out of here." And they're like, "Well, maybe see you around again sometime, Roy." So to me, when a character comes in and doesn't really do anything, and is just there as a placeholder, they're Roy. But something else happened along the way. So Howard starts dating Bernadette, which is fine, because Bernadette in the beginning seems kind of stupid. Then they make it clear she's not stupid. She was playing stupid. Was she playing stupid? Because in the beginning she seemed to not understand Howard's humor, and then later on she declares that she always knew it was stupid, but she laughs because she knows he likes it when she laughs. So they did a play on that when Harry Met Sally scene. And then Along the way, Howard and Raj, as a joke, find a girlfriend for Sheldon, which works somehow because Amy Fairfeller wants nothing to do with physical contact. Neither does Sheldon. Fine. Then later on, Amy suddenly craves physical contact for no reason. It's not established why. She just does because it's funnier if she craves it and he doesn't. So they establish that. Well, meanwhile, there's no reason to keep Leonard and Penny apart anymore, so we'll get them together. Well, what's next? Okay, well, marriage will be the next one. Okay, well, he'll ask her all the time and she'll always say no. Okay, that's funny. Um, what about Howard and Bernadette? Well, they'll live at his mom's for a while. And in about this time, in this time in the show, if you listen to the jokes, they become more and more mean-spirited. And if you take away the laugh track, and there are videos on YouTube where people do this, you take away the laugh track from The Big Bang Theory, and you just hear the jokes without any laughter, they're just really mean. There's remarks made by Sheldon, which are almost forgivable because he's antisocial and anti-people, but there's remarks made by Howard, remarks made by Penny, everybody, Leonard, Raj, everybody, and especially towards Howard's mother. Now, I get it, the big joke is that she's this big fat Jewish woman, but at some point, that joke loses steam. And it's like they had to crank the insult up higher, higher, higher. And then the awkward thing is they keep cranking those insults up. And then the actress that played the voice of Howard's mother passes away. And then all of a sudden, within a couple episodes of some really nasty insults of, oh, my mother's in Florida, but, and then all these insults about her, then she's dead and then everybody's upset. And it's like, I don't have a hard time with it from a point of view of the actual actors being upset, because you can tell in those scenes they're actually upset. But then this is where the disjointedness starts. So you have Howard's mother die. They have this emotional scene where it's pointed out that she's dead, and then they're trying to tell jokes again 30 seconds later. It's like, wait a minute, we know this actress really died in real life. It harkens back to MASH. MASH was a comedy. Okay, it didn't have a laugh track beyond. I think they dropped the laugh track after the first or second season, and it got more dramatic as it went along, but it never betrayed its integrity. MASH is one of those shows that you can argue whether it was more interesting later on or they wrote out all the interesting, really funny characters, but it was still a really good show. And you could still sit and watch an entire episode and get something out of it. Big Bang Theory took Howard's mother's death and tried to make a joke of it within a couple minutes. When Radar comes into the operating room, I know I'm dating myself, and he says Howard Blake's plane went down. There were no, or Howard Blake's helicopter went down. There were no survivors. Colonel Blake's helicopter. Henry Blake. Colonel Henry Blake's helicopter went down. There were no survivors, and you see Radar crying. Okay, he's not wearing a mask, and then they show Hawkeye and Trapper with tears in their eyes while they're operating, and that's the end of the show. That's how you do it. And it leaves you like, wow, that was really powerful. Now, there's two ways the Big Bang Theory could have done this. They could have done a similar, maybe more lighthearted way of doing it, or somehow have an episode that starts with that. So have the episode start with everybody dressed in black and saying, Howard's mother's passed away and they're all going to the funeral. So have that happen. But don't have Howard on the phone. And then they have that really awkward bit with him coming home on the plane and they lose her and they're trying to make a joke out of the fact that she's been lost in luggage somehow, and it's like, it's really icky. Meanwhile, Raj gets a girlfriend. And he gets a really good-looking girlfriend. Emily, the actress who played Emily, absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. Smart, funny. really into horror movies, which creeps me out. That was an interesting storyline. And then he's okay because she says, well, it's kind of a turn on. And he goes, all right, let's fire it up. And I'm like, that's absolutely Raj. And then all of a sudden, Raj is like, I think I want to break up with her. And I'm like, no, you don't. Raj spends the first forever seasons pining because he doesn't have a girlfriend. Okay. And Emily is so far above everything else he's had a shot at or anything they've ever written into the show. The deaf girl, also named Emily, because the show apparently can't come up with a different name for a girlfriend for Raj. But this Emily was good to him, and I didn't see what the point was. And you know, it's like, oh well, she tries to control him. Have you seen Raj? He needs control. I didn't understand, and I still don't. I mean, if the actress was leaving, fine, but the idea that Raj would be the one breaking up with her, I didn't buy it. I'm like, this guy has been joked about for years about these horrible, desperate, sexual, deviant things he'll do just for physical contact with a human. You know, the three-way with Howard at the Comic-Con thing they mentioned more than once, which is, you know, they always flirt with that line and then every now and then they just dive right over it. And it's like, I'm not sure why you guys are going here. I really don't. It's not really a funny joke, which the other thing you can do too is if you take the show, and it wasn't as bad in the beginning, but you look at it now, and it's not only all mean-spirited jokes, but there's a lot of racism in the show, in the way it's written. And just some of the things, and I'm talking about like all, you have Raj in the show at this point just to make jokes about India, just to make jokes about the third world. Howard, he's there to make Jewish jokes. Sheldon, make fun of Texans, people in the South. Penny, Nebraska jokes, I guess. Although there's not really a whole lot to make fun of with Nebraska. But I personally find it off-putting. A sitcom should be funny. And when it's pretty much just the same joke over and over and over again, and when you're making jokes about Jewish people, people who live in India, and it's not even accurate in either case, it's just stereotypes, you have two broke girls. That's what you have. And two broke girls isn't funny either. So is Chuck Lorre the problem then? Because he was the executive on charge of Two and a Half Men, which was also criminally unfunny. The only thing that made Two and a Half Men work at all was Charlie Sheen. And then they threw him out because they're stupid. And the show goes off the air because Ashton Kutcher is not Charlie Sheen. And then I think Mom is theirs as well. And Mom is mildly funny. But again, it just... It's almost like with a sitcom, it's like, okay, what's the cheapest joke we can tell? What's the cheapest, lowest joke we can tell? And I don't understand that, because it's not just, oh, that's an American thing. And I've heard that over the years. You know, people saying, well, British comedies are smart, American comedies are stupid. No, The Office wasn't stupid. The Office didn't resort to a lot of that crap, except Michael. And Michael always got his comeuppance at the end for the crap he said about people, whether it was racist, sexist, or whatever it was. He always ended up not being viewed as the hero. And related, Parks and Rec was a fantastic show, very funny. Community, fantastic show, very funny. I'm even trying to think with Community. Abed, clearly Middle Eastern, and I scarcely, other than Pierce, who's certified as a racist in the show, other than comments from Pierce, you don't hear a lot of comments from anybody else. And Abed didn't speak with a weird accent. Part of the problem I have with The Big Bang Theory is the actor who plays Raj doesn't have that accent in real life. So he's putting on the accent, and he doesn't really, honestly, it's not necessary. It's sort of like all of the accents in Two Broke Girls aren't necessary. But I don't want to come down too hard on that. I'm just trying to make a point here, which is that you can have funny shows, and also The Office and Parks and Rec, no laugh tracks. There's no laugh track. So it's not needed. You know, when Dwight Schrute comes in, and his desk has been hidden in the bathroom, and Jim's like, colder, colder, ooh, hot, 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 so hot. It's funny. You don't need a laugh track. When you're watching them watch Threat Level Midnight with Michael Scarn, that is gold. That is absolute gold. And you don't need a laugh track. I sat with my kids, watched that, and we all laughed our asses off. That's funny stuff. It's not all quips and one-liners, and it's like when you see a show, and I will say this, The Office did lose a lot of steam just before Stephen Carell left the show. Steve Carell knew when to get out. I think he understood the show's quality was dipping, and he wanted out before it got worse. Totally understood, and the show went off the air shortly after that, because then it just went off a cliff. And not having a laugh track means it became even more obvious, because now nobody's laughing. You're not hearing that fake laugh. I hate laugh tracks. Laugh tracks drive me insane. I miss live studio audiences. I miss hearing at the start of a show, Happy Days was filmed before a live studio audience. It feels different. And I know Big Bang Theory is filmed before a live studio audience, which is what makes the laugh track more egregious. I watched Undateable last year, and Undateable was all filmed live. And to me, that made the show funnier. And at first, I thought, okay, they better only do this once or twice. This is really awkward. But I really got into it. Because I have satellite, I was able to watch the West Coast feed and the East Coast and see differences between the two, because they do 2 live performances. It was fantastic off the air. No ratings. Who cares? Which is what makes the Big Bang Theory's decline in quality right off a cliff even worse. You've got Raj dumping a hot girlfriend. You've got Howard is happily married in his mother's house with Bernadette, which is just awkward. Honestly, I would think if he sold the house and got an apartment with Bernadette, or stayed in Bernadette's apartment and they just sold the house and that was the set they were using, I would think it would be better. Because they're still doing jokes about his mom, and then they had that episode where they're just cleaning up the floor. I'm like, this whole episode is just Raj, Howard, and Stuart cleaning up the kitchen because she came home and found them playing video games rather than cleaning anything up. Like, the episodes themselves have become awful. So it's not just that the jokes are bad. Now the whole premise of an episode is terrible. To the point where in numerous episodes this past year, I would watch the first 5 minutes and go, I know where this is going, and click it off because I didn't care. You have Penny gets engaged to Leonard and they don't move in together because you can't, because that'll upset Sheldon. But the problem is Sheldon was established early on in the show as a guy who wasn't emotionally attached. Sheldon realistically would have said, okay, so Leonard moves in with Penny across the hall, and then Stuart moves in with Sheldon, or Raj moves in with Sheldon, because Sheldon didn't really have that attachment to Leonard when Leonard was living with Priya and Raj moved in. Now all of a sudden he has this huge emotional attachment, he wants to spend the rest of his life with Leonard? It's like, you guys have, and not only that, but now he slept with Amy. The whole big thing last year was him sleeping with Amy, which completely destroys his character. I don't know why they couldn't have a character on TV be asexual. I actually that was brave. And so apparently it was an accident that he was asexual. Because oh no, he likes girls. Since when? Why can't a character be asexual? The actor in real life we know is gay. That's not a problem. Zachary Quinto is a gay man that his love affair with Uhura on Star Trek is believable. So that's not my problem. My problem is the character himself is established right away as asexual, almost like Spock. But we've got to show that he likes girls. We have to get him a girlfriend. Why? Well, Howard's got a girlfriend and Leonard has a girlfriend. He has to have a girlfriend. Except that he didn't. There are asexual people in this world who may very well have looked at Sheldon and gone, finally, a character on TV I can identify with. And now they've destroyed that character just for some cheap laughs of Amy Farrah Fowler, who isn't very funny. And I enjoyed the show Blossom. I admit I enjoyed the show Blossom somewhat. It wasn't very funny either. But, I have no problem with the actress who plays Amy. I just, sometimes I hear the jokes she makes and I think, Sheldon could just deliver these jokes himself. And again, her character's changed. I don't like physical contact, and now she's out drinking, and she's always hitting on Penny, and it's just everybody has kind of changed their characters, and it's not the same show. I don't find the quality is there anymore. When Penny's character cut her hair, and I think most guys didn't like it. Sorry. And for me, it wasn't as much that I didn't like it. It was that at the time, House of Cards was huge. And I'm like, okay, wait. So now she gets her hair cut short and she's wearing business suits for this new job of hers. So she's Robin Wright then. Like, to me, she looked like Robin Wright from House of Cards. She had the exact same haircut. She was wearing the same outfits sometimes in the shows. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, she starts wearing man clothes. And I'm like, wait, she's wearing a flannel shirt and ripped jeans, and she's wearing more manly clothes than Leonard. You're taking you're taking a character and just destroying it. Basically, it reminds me of in Star Trek Next Generation towards the end, Deanna Troi became Marina Sirtis. The accent slowly dipped, the outfit slowly changed, and by the end of the series, she's just being Marina Sirtis. She's not being a character. She's not Deanna Troi anymore. In the movies, that's Marina Sirtis. That's not Deanna Troi. What we're seeing on TV now, that's Kaylee Cuoco. That's not Penny anymore. And it's got to the point where there are times where an episode starts up and I'm like, what in the hell is Penny wearing? Penny was established right away as this very conscious of her looks and of being pretty and of being cute. Now, you could say, well, she's married now, so that changes. Not for Penny. It wouldn't change for Penny. If anything, she wanted to look good for Leonard. But they had to change the character and make her grow up. Why? Not everybody grows up. I never did. So, for me anyways, I don't really see a way they can save it without completely reverting the show back to what it was. And it's too bad because the cast is top notch. They clearly all get along really well. But to me, even the cast at this point looks like they're just going through the motions. It's like they got the 3-year extension. Most shows go year by year. They got a 3-year extension, and it's like they went, "No, we're safe." And maybe the writers did that. Maybe the directors did. Maybe they all did that. Maybe they all went, "Oh, we got 3 years, cool." So they'll just coast through the first two and then really make an effort the third. Although when you're still first place in the ratings, there's no pressure on making your quality any better than what it is. I watch the reruns. I still watch the reruns. It's not like I'm saying the show was never funny. It was very funny at certain points. The episode where Sheldon's learning how to drive with the simulator is still cracks me up every single time. Absolutely one of the funniest scenes in history. And what really punctuates it is Penny hitting him in the face with a pillow and him saying thank you. It is every character's on point in that episode. All of them. It's absolutely amazing. Oh, the pet store. Just every line in it is amazing. And you don't need the laugh track for it to be funny. Now, without that laugh track, it's horrible. You can almost hear people in the crowd snoring through it at times because it's really, really bad in parts. And now they're bringing in Penny's mother and brother. So Roy and Roy. Bringing in 2 more Roys. Oh, goody. Awesome. Can't wait. Should be great. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, awesome. They're adding Roy to the cast and Roy's mother. This will be awesome. The only way it would be better is if his name was Roy. Which makes sense because Penny's dad has been in the show a couple of times, and I really, really enjoy him. It's John Carradine, right? John Carradine plays the part. Absolutely fantastic. I would really enjoy seeing him in the show more. So by all means, don't bring him in the show. Put her mother in the show and her brother, and it's like it'd be like putting Sheldon's mother on the show. Like I don't mind. I mean, to me, she's still Jackie from Roseanne, but I don't mind her in small doses, but not all the time. And certainly Leonard's mother, again, small doses, not all the time. The idea of bringing in 2 new people, it feels like Roy. It's probably just a character arc. It's probably just for 3 or 5 episodes. I can't see it being for much longer than that. But I guess we'll see. Anyways, That's my feelings on The Big Bang Theory and on how what was once a great show. And now we're a few weeks away from the season premiere, and I don't care. I don't even remember what the cliffhanger was at the end of last season. Honestly, I don't remember. I just realized that I honestly don't remember what the cliffhanger was for the end of last year. I don't care. And even the cliffhanger thing sucked when they had Penny sleep with Raj. There was outrage online about it, so they changed it so they didn't actually sleep together, which is just, whatever. I didn't like the idea of Raj and Penny either. I thought it was stupid. But to retro it after to make it like that never really happened. Give me a break. It was so obvious that they were making it so that it didn't happen, and then quickly they put Penny and Leonard together to, appease the fans in general. But when you do that, eventually you're just going to piss everybody off. And maybe that's where we're at. Anyways, thanks for watching if you made it this far, and I'll be posting again soon. I have two different channels. This is my secondary fun off to the side channel. My hockey channel is my main channel, and that's available through featured channels, featured content on my channel here. I've said the word channel way too much. Anyways, thanks for watching.